It's honestly kind of funny how we treat our own potential. Like, just think about it for a second.
Oh, I mean, we're generally terrible at it.
Right. Like, imagine you are handed the keys to this absolute engineering marvel of a sports car. It's got this massive V12 engine, perfect aerodynamics, a flawless interior, and a full tank of high-octane gas.
Sound like a pretty good day so far.
Yeah, it's the dream, right?
Yeah.
But then, what do? You take this incredible machine and you drive it at, like, 10 miles an hour, exclusively in empty grocery store parking lots.
Oh, wow. Yeah, just doing little circles.
Exactly. You never take it on the highway. You literally never even shift into second gear. And if someone comes up and asks you why, you just shrug and say, well, what if there's traffic out there? Or, like, what if I get a scratch on the bumper?
It's totally paralyzing yourself before you even start.
It really is. It is the ultimate tragedy of unused capacity. We build these invisible self-imposed borders around what we think we're actually allowed to experience. We decide exactly what our limits are before we even, test the engine.
Which is such a universal human experience, unfortunately.
Totally. So, consider today's deep dive your official invitation to finally take the car out on the open road. Because today, we are unpacking the core philosophy from David J. Schwartz's highly influential book, The Magic of Thinking Big.
Which is an absolute classic for a reason.
It really is. And our mission today is to explore a truth that sounds deceptively simple, but is honestly life-changing once you grasp the actual mechanics of it. And that truth is that your results in life only grow as big as your thinking.
Yeah, and I think it's important to clarify right off the bat that we aren't just talking about, toxic positivity here.
Right.
When you look closely at that parking lot mentality you mentioned, you realize it's a protective mechanism. We are fundamentally transforming how you approach your daily reality by questioning those quiet assumptions you make about what you actually deserve. This is an abstract philosophy. It is deeply rooted in cognitive behavioral patterns.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I was really struck by how the source material begins right at the foundation, which is the internal blueprint, your mindset and your emotional control.
The invisible stuff that dictates everything else.
Exactly. It suggests that people who think small limit themselves before life even begins to challenge them. But on the flip side, big thinkers open doors that others literally do not even see.
Because they aren't even looking for them.
Right. It brings me back to that sports car analogy. Thinking small is essentially like setting your car's GPS to a destination just down the street, even though you have a full tank of gas. You are artificially limiting the journey before you even turn the key.
You're capping your own distance.
Yeah, you're basically telling the navigation system, hey, don't even bother looking for routes beyond a 2-mile radius.
What's fascinating here is the actual psychological mechanism behind that GPS setting. I mean, when the material talks about seeing possibilities instead of problems, it is describing a literal cognitive shift.
Wait, like an actual physical process in the brain?
Yes, exactly. It involves a network in your brain called the reticular activating system, or the RAS. Basically, your brain is this massive, powerful filtering machine. At any given second, you are bombarded by millions of bits of sensory data.
Like sights, sounds, everything around us.
Right. And if you actually processed all of it consciously, your nervous system would just short circuit. It's too much data. So your RAS acts as the bouncer at the door of your consciousness.
I love that. A tiny neurological bouncer.
Yeah. It only lets in information that it deems important based on your current programming. So if your internal GPS is set to small thinking, like if you deeply believe you are unqualified or that the economy is just totally against you, your RAS will actively filter out opportunities.
Wow. So it literally hides things from you.
It will literally delete them from your conscious awareness to prove you right, because your brain wants to validate your existing beliefs.
So when the text says this mindset attracts opportunities, people, and resources, it's not some mystical, law of attraction force. It's just that you are finally tuning your biological frequency to notice what was already sitting there.
Exactly. You've reprogrammed the bouncer.
So you start seeing, random passing conversation at a coffee shop, not as an annoyance, but as a potential networking opportunity.
Yes. When you actively expect positive outcomes and really believe you deserve success, your RAS starts hunting for evidence to support that new belief. And that actually brings us to the emotional component.
Which is usually where people get really stuck.
Totally. We often operate under this weird assumption that we need to feel confident before we can think we can tackle a big goal. Like, we wait for the emotion to arrive so it can fuel the action.
Like waiting for inspiration to strike.
Right. But the causal arrow actually points the exact opposite way. Your cognitive appraisal of a situation dictates your emotional response to it.
So you're saying you have to manufacture the thought first.
Yes, your nervous system is really just following orders. If you look at a challenge, say like a massive presentation at work, and you think, oh man, this is going to expose me as a total fraud.
The classic imposter syndrome panic.
Exactly. Your brain interprets that thought as a literal survival threat. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Your higher order thinking completely shuts down and you feel paralyzed.
Because your body thinks you're being chased by a bear, basically.
Yep. But if you consciously intercept that thought and replace it with, how can I leverage this to showcase my new skill set? Your brain suppresses that panic response.
Oh, wow. So you can physically calm yourself down just by reframing the thought.
Right. It shifts blood flow back to the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that handles problem solving. So cultivating that kind of emotional intelligence, practicing positive self-talk, staying calm under pressure, becomes a massive competitive advantage.
I mean, that makes total sense. Because while everyone else in the office is panicking and drowning in cortisol, you're just calmly troubleshooting. You are keeping your cognitive dashboard totally clear.
You aren't wasting precious mental energy fighting your own internal alarm bells.
Which is huge. That internal clarity has to be the prerequisite for any meaningful external output.
Absolutely.
But, having a beautifully designed internal blueprint and perfect emotional control is completely useless if nothing actually gets built. Like, you can have the best GPS and the clearest dashboard in the world, but if the car is in park, you aren't going anywhere.
Right. The thought has to translate into momentum.
Exactly. So bypassing that initial panic response naturally leads to the engine required for this mindset, which is physical action and compounding habits. And the source material hits incredibly hard here.
It doesn't pull any punches.
Not at all. It points out that the biggest enemy of success isn't failure, it is fear. And the only real cure for fear is action.
Which is so simple but so difficult to actually do.
Right. And the rules laid out in the book are pretty unambiguous. It's like, act now, start before you feel ready. Remember that progress beats perfection.
It's all about forward motion.
Yeah. It claims that big success isn't about big luck. It's built through small, consistent daily habits. Things like speaking positively, acting decisively, avoiding excuses. But I have to be honest here, I want to push back on this a little bit.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Well, the text explicitly states that your daily behavior shapes your future far more than your talent or your background. And, are we really saying that having a highly privileged background or having innate one-in-a-million talent matters less than just having a daily routine of not making excuses?
I get why that feels like a stretch.
It just feels a bit like ignoring the reality of the starting line,
Yeah.
Isn't that drastically oversimplifying how the real world actually works?
That's a super fair critique. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the mathematics of compounding. Your critique is entirely valid if we are only looking at a really short time horizon.
Okay.
Your background, your zip code, your innate talent, those variables absolutely determine where you are placed on the starting line. Denying that is just denying reality. However, what we are really analyzing here is the difference between initial value and long-term velocity.
Walk me through that distinction. How does that actually play out?
Think of it like a financial investment. Talent and privilege give you a massive initial deposit. You start with this huge balance. But small, consistent habits like acting decisively, taking responsibility, planning your day to bed, those represent your interest rate.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Right. Over a long enough timeline, the interest rate always dictates the final outcome. A modest initial deposit compounding at a really high rate of daily action will eventually overtake a massive initial deposit that just sits stagnant.
So the daily behavior doesn't erase the starting line. It acts as the engine of long-term velocity.
Exactly. It's the tortoise and the hare, but with compound interest.
So that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And how does that tie back into the whole fear aspect?
Well, let's look at the mechanical relationship between daily behavior and fear. Fear thrives in a vacuum. It flourishes in that empty space between thinking about doing something and actually doing it.
Oh, man. That is so true. That overthinking phase is brutal.
It is. But when you adopt the habit of starting before you feel ready, when you embrace that messy reality that progress beats perfection, you are basically depriving fear of the oxygen it needs to grow.
Because you're forcing yourself into motion.
Yes. Action forces physiological movement. You literally cannot be completely paralyzed and in motion at the same time. The physical mechanics of taking a step, even a clumsy one, shift your brain out of the freeze response.
So you're bypassing the fear by engaging the motor functions, essentially. It's not about waiting for the fear to vanish. It's about, like, walking forward while the fear is still sitting in the passenger seat.
That's a perfect image. You are proving to your nervous system that the threat isn't lethal just by putting one foot in front of the other.
And then the action builds the confidence. The evidence of your own movement actually convinces your brain that you are capable.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the internal blueprint and we have the engine of daily action. But once that confidence is built, you start looking for places to apply it. And the ultimate testing ground for this kind of mindset, the places where we encounter the most friction in the real world, are our bank accounts and our social circles.
Which are the most tangible readouts of our internal settings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting. I was so struck by how this material treats money. Because we tend to view income as just a math problem or an economy problem. But the book essentially frames it as a psychology problem.
Which totally shifts the paradigm.
It really does. It argues that your financial growth begins with your financial mindset and that your income rarely exceeds your self-image. Like, small thoughts about money equal small decisions. Big thoughts equal bold steps toward wealth.
It's deeply psychological.
When I read this, I immediately pictured a thermostat on a wall. It's basically saying your mindset is the thermostat for your bank account.
I love that analogy. Let's actually explore the behavioral mechanics of that thermostat for a second.
Yeah, think about how a physical thermostat works in a house. If you set it to 68 degrees and a cold draft comes in and cools the room down to 60, the heater kicks on and works furiously until it gets back to 68.
Right, it self-corrects.
Exactly. But if you bring in a space heater and crank the room up to 80 degrees, the air conditioning will kick on to cool it down back to 68. The system always corrects to the program's setting.
It fights any deviation from the norm.
So if your mindset thermostat is set to small, your income will naturally cool down to match it, no matter how hard you temporarily work.
And the mechanism of how that air conditioning kicks on that is exactly where the self-sabotage happens.
Walk me through that.
Well, let's say your internal thermostat is set to a baseline of financial struggle. Like, that is what feels normal and familiar to your nervous system. That's what you grew up with, maybe?
Right, that's what you expect.
So suddenly, you get a massive promotion or a huge $10,000 bonus. Your environment just heated up. But instead of feeling secure, your subconscious actually experiences intense cognitive dissonance.
Because the new reality doesn't match the internal blueprint.
Yes. So, you unconsciously activate the AC to cool things down.
But how does someone unconsciously cool down their own bank account? Like, nobody wants to lose money.
You'd be surprised. Imposter syndrome kicks in at work, causing you to shrink back from leadership opportunities, ensuring you don't get the next raise. Or you experience this sudden, overwhelming urge to just treat yourself and make really impulsive purchases.
Oh, like buying a car you can't actually afford.
Exactly. You buy a boat, or you make a highly speculative, super risky investment. You bleed out the excess capital until your bank account returns to that familiar state of living paycheck to paycheck.
Because then the tension resolves.
Yeah.
You are safely back at 68 degrees.
Exactly. So to change the financial reality, you have to reprogram the thermostat. You have to normalize a higher temperature by investing in your own skills and really redefining what you fundamentally believe you are allowed to hold on to.
That is profound. And, one of the fastest ways to change that thermostat setting is through the people around you. The text states very directly that environment shapes destiny.
It is absolutely crucial.
Surrounding yourself with small thinking, negative people slows down your growth, while surrounding yourself with big thinkers raises your confidence, expands your ideas, and literally increases your motivation.
This raises an important question, and it's one I really want you, the listener, to seriously ask yourself today. Take a hard look at the 5 people you spend the most time with. What are their thermostats set at?
Oof, that is a highly revealing audit to do on your own life.
It can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Humans are incredibly adaptive, and we are highly susceptible to social contagion.
Like picking up on other people's vibes.
More than just vibes. We actually possess mirror neurons in our brains that are specifically designed to simulate the emotions and behaviors of the people around us.
Wow, so it's hardwired into us.
Yes, it's an evolutionary survival trait. But it means we unconsciously absorb the financial and emotional confidence of our immediate circle. We pick up on their micro-expressions of fear, their cynical jokes, their quiet resignation.
So if you are sitting in a room with people who constantly talk about why things won't work or why the industry is collapsing, why the deck is stacked against them, your mirror neurons fire.
Your brain simulates that defeat. Over time, your baseline normalizes to their defeatism.
It's like having your thermostat placed right next to an open window in the dead of winter. You are constantly fighting the cold draft,
Yeah.
burning twice the fuel just to stay at a basic level of motivation.
That's exactly it. Choosing the people you surround yourself with isn't just some casual social preference. It is a critical strategic move for your cognitive health.
So you have to protect your environment.
Absolutely. When you intentionally place yourself in environments with people who are taking smart risks, who are speaking positively and acting decisively, their baseline becomes your baseline.
Their normal becomes your normal.
Yes. You absorb their resilience. As the text suggests, they lift your thinking rather than limit it.
It really is the ultimate life hack. If you want to think big, just get in a room where thinking big is the minimum requirement for entry. Suddenly, your own goals become much clearer. The path just doesn't seem so impossible because you're literally watching other people walk it every single day.
The environment does all the heavy lifting for your mindset.
So what does this all mean? We've covered an immense amount of ground today, diving into the neuroscience of perception, the mechanics of fear, and the behavioral economics of our social circles. But it all spirals back to that one timeless truth we started with.
That everything expands in direct proportion to your thinking.
Exactly. Your life, your habits, your finances, your relationships. You simply cannot outperform your own self-image. If you think small, you act small, and your reality stays small. But if you choose to think big, you unlock a completely different set of possibilities.
It's a fundamental shift in how you operate.
And the source material leaves us with a very specific, very direct call to action. And I want to pass that on to you right now. It invites you to take just one step today that reflects big thinking.
Just one.
Just one step. Start before you feel ready. Engage those motor functions. Make that phone call. Send that email. Set that boundary or invest in that course. Your next level begins with a single decision to upgrade your thoughts. And then proving it to your nervous system with an action. Get the car out of the parking lot. Take it onto the highway. See what that engine can actually do.
I love that. And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to sort of mull over.
Go for it.
We've spent this entire deep dive examining this as an individual journey, your mindset, your finances, your compounding habits. But if our external reality is just a reflection of our internal thinking, what happens to the world around us when entire communities or entire workplaces collectively decide to upgrade their mindset and think big together?
Oh, wow.
Right? Like, could a collective shift in thinking, powered by that same social contagion and those same mirror neurons we just talked about, reshape society the exact same way an individual shift reshapes a single life?
Man, that is a massive question to chew on. Imagine the compounding interest of a whole community thinking big. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope it gave you the spark you needed to reset your thermostat. Take that one step today, keep thinking big, and we will catch you on the next one.